All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 1st, 2022 meeting of the Public Infrastructure Committee. My name is Tony Emerson. I represent District 4, and I get the honor of chairing this committee this year. If the others would please introduce themselves.
Councilman Mike Lesser, District 9.
Neil Dobler, District 7.
All right. Our second item this morning is just to approve the minutes of the September 20th meeting. If there's a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion approved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it passes 3-0. And now we're actually going to insert a new item here that's not on the agenda. And that's a discussion of the City Hall HVAC system. I believe the city manager has the details on it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is just moving number 7 up to 3.
Sure.
So there's been lots of conversation over the last year and a half, Chair, in regards to HVAC modifications to City Hall as well as TPAC. And my recollection was the committee had asked, as did the full council, had asked that some additional study work be done. That work has come back, and we got that late last week and afforded to the committee for consideration. This would basically be a modification to the CIP as posted in for 2023. Basically, Chair, the way the results come back is to do the City Hall and TPAC combined, you're talking about $22 million, which is higher than what we had initially expected. And so really, in breaking that down, just so that we kind of understand what options might be, Chair, the TPAC side could be done for $13.5 million. Municipal court is just over $2.5 million. The balance is roughly $5.7 million, which would be City Hall. Of that 13.5, just for clarity, there's a component which is basically converting steam to hot water. And if you were to do one side or the other, you have to do that. So that's kind of a base level that has to be done. If you're going to do any upgrades, you've got to do the steam side, and it's about $3.8 million.
And that is part of the 13.5 that you're saying for
That's
TPAC
part of
right
the
now.
13.5.
Okay.
The priority levels were rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being highest priority, 5 being the lowest. And so the reason why municipal court is broken out separately here, other than just to understand the zones, municipal court actually came back at a 4, 1 being high priority, 5 being lower priority. We're not advocating not doing municipal court, but what we are saying is that if we had to make a prioritization level, municipal court ranks the lowest of the 3 zones. So that's, obviously these are modifications to the CIP. My assumption is this would want to go back to full council for approval, but this is the new numbers, and certainly we're in a situation to where a decision is going to need to be made soon in regards to what we're going to do with HVAC.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues? Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
So, given the fact that this is $22 million that we don't have right now, recommendations from staff on, it's nice to have the priority levels so you can kind of look at 1, 2, and 3 maybe. What's the recommendation?
Well, I think you've got a couple members of in the audience, Councilman Dobler and Chair, that may want to speak specifically to the TPAC side.
Sure. Yeah, is there someone like to come up and speak about the TPAC side? If you could just please state your name, sir, before you.
Sure. Roger McKinley. I'm the president-elect for the TPAC board. I'm here with Joan Wagnon, who is the past president of TPAC. I'm sure you're all familiar with the systems in that building and the age. I don't know if you read the full report from Bartlett and West, but very well done and very concise. We've been battling heating, air conditioning, humidity problems for several years, to the point of almost canceling shows, because in one instance, we had a show, I believe it was in February, it was only 45 degrees outside. By the time we got everybody in, it was 86 degrees in the upper levels before the performance was over. So we have been in communication with Anna and Steve and their team, seeing what can be done. They have helped with some modifications on the AC side, but one of the major problems is the humidity level in there. We've got a baby grand and a grand in the basement. That, you know what that does to wood instruments with high humidity, as well as deterioration of interiors, ceiling tiles sagging, wallpaper peeling because of the moisture issues. Our very concern is if something isn't done with the HVAC system, I'm not sure how we can continue to operate. And I don't know what more specific information you would like on that, but we think the auditorium, the TPAC Center, the building is crown jewel of Topeka. There's not many like that around anymore, and would like to see it continue.
Questions from my colleagues? Questions or comments? Thank you, sir.
You bet.
I guess my question, City Manager, would be, is there any efficiencies, energy efficiencies, I guess we'd realize as part of this system?
I'll probably defer to Deputy Director Ulrich if she's in the back.
So as part of this assessment, I think that's on, we did not ask for necessarily an energy efficiency output because the loads are so variable and the system's so old. We know that we will receive a more efficient system. However, in often many of these scenarios, we're pushing through an immensely exorbitant amount of air that we're not doing today. So although these systems will be technically more efficient, there is going to be a higher put through. So from the net, the gut feel of the engineering team that was working on it is that we're not going to necessarily realize a whole lot in terms of operational savings because of the give and take of those competing pieces. But we will have an environment that is adequately heated, cooled, and the ability to control the humidity, especially in the basement at TPAC, as a result of it.
Yeah, we're definitely not making the assertion that there would be a return on this investment.
Okay.
As far as from an efficiency angle.
Yeah, that is what I was hoping for.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it'll pay for
Yeah.
itself in like 2 years.
No, sir.
But, yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, for Hannah. So if we did 1 through 4, that would address what in City Hall?
It would address the entire system in City Hall. City Hall piece is called out more specifically on option 1, and that does push through the return air ducts throughout the building, as
Okay.
well as updating the units on the top of the building, connecting it all to the existing system that's shared between TPAC and City Hall. Part of that is the conversion from steam to hot water, which would need to be done congruently, if not slightly before, so they can hook up to it upon the installation of the new rooftop unit. But that would update the entire system from that perspective.
Okay. There is, return air right now is through hallways and windows and
It's through occupied space.
whatever else we've got. And then 3 and 4 would address TPAC.
Yes, that would address the main auditorium. And then that main basement auditorium, that's the big open space that they've used for events in the past. We tried to color coordinate as best we could. It's small on this first page that you're probably looking at on the summary, but there are larger prints in the back of the assessment that try to help correlate where the TPAC systems impact in terms of where in the building.
And which ones are those?
So looking at 3, the dark blue, on the very bottom where it shows the first floor plan and the second floor plan, that's that middle section, and that's that main auditorium that everybody's familiar with. Number 4, that's the light yellow. It's on the bottom left floor plan, and that's the basement view. So that main big room that you see drawn out there is the room that we've used for different events as city in the past, and when we've had to have, new council member welcomes, those sort of meetings, that's where that's at. So coming straight in, they use it as their expedition hall, and historically has been an event room, while the utilization that's decreased with new event centers, it hasn't been overly utilized recently.
And then number 5, which I know is not one of the items you specifically asked about. Number 5 is the green area on the first floor plan. That is the hallways and the rooms that go around the actual auditorium itself.
Thank you for pointing out number 5 was green. I appreciate that. Couple questions, Hannah?
Yes, sir.
How, and I don't expect you to know all these numbers, but roughly how many, and this may be actually a Steve question, how many employees do we have? City of Topeka?
We currently have about 1,000 on the roster, budgeted at 1,150.
And that's including fire department, police department, correct?
Yes, sir.
Fire department, most of them have their own fitness area, fitness room, correct? At most of the station, roughly. I mean, I'm not.
Yes, that they provide.
Is there anything at the PD? Do they have anything
They have
over
a
there
fitness
as well?
center that they provide.
Okay, so let's take that number down then. How many people are we talking there then?
You have 299 sworn, and you have 200 fire. So with admin, you're talking about 600 roughly.
600?
Utilities is also predominantly in a different location, and that's probably another 250, maybe 300 staff members. And I defer to Sylvia from that one, but I believe it's about 250.
How many people utilize the fitness?
I can't tell you. I can definitely pull that. I know our HR team has utilized some of that data in the past.
Here's where I go, and I'm certainly not going away from fitness, but I see, I see that we could move 400,000 real quickly to go into some type of co-sponsorship with, whether it would be COLA, whether it be any of those. We could even bid that out as far as city employee gets a membership of X amount, blah, blah, blah. And, let's say we got 600 times 20. I mean, we can do a lot of membership for $400,000 for, quite frankly, no offense to anybody, but it's kind of it's not the most top-notch equipment that we're looking at down there. And I think it's important that we have this, but I think we could have better offerings through other places that we could say $400,000 to move somewhere else. Other question I have real quickly is, does TPAC receive any funds from, and I should know this and I didn't bring it, but receive any funds from Visit Topeka?
No, sir, we don't.
Last meeting, so I can piss people off, so that's kind of easy, is I would consider at least looking at that. I think it's a reasonable expense to look at part of this, funding it through a Visit Topeka budget as well. I mean, this is truly, TPAC is a gym, brings people in, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, why would we not look at putting some of the burden through that fund for a part of it? I mean, that's just.
Right, for the transit guest tax.
Yeah,
Yeah.
T. I mean, either one of them. I mean, It's not going to get us there, but I don't know why we wouldn't look there for some contribution to, so those are the only two things I had.
Sure.
And I changed my cell number, so don't call and complain.
Yeah,
I'm just
go
trying to
ahead.
get you some money.
Councilman?
So, thank you, Chair. Steve, you originally mentioned 13.5 million for TPAC. What are the item numbers that cover TPAC? The 3.7 is included. Number 2 is included?
Number 2 is included.
Okay.
And then you would have number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6.
What's that? On the form? Yeah.
What is number 5? Number 5 is a pretty big ticket item.
Number 5 is basically the basement of TPAC.
Okay.
Sorry, number 5 with the fan coil is the exterior of the first floor.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at number 4. My apologies.
So that's your entryway into it. It's the side meeting rooms, the smaller rooms.
But all part of TPAC, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, no further questions.
So, okay, so I guess we've talked a lot about different things. I mean, I'm, as reluctant as I'm using to say this, I'm with Councilman Lesser in that, if it's 400,000 just to get HVAC into that little fitness room, sure there's better stuff we can do with move the fitness center over to, is there one at Holiday right now?
No,
Okay.
sir.
There again, I'd bid it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, go
There
ahead.
again, I'd bid it out and see. I mean, what is it? Co-law's like $5 a month. I mean, I would explore looking at those opportunities and bidding that out to the private. I mean, why do we need to be in the fitness business? I mean, our wellness people do a great job, but that doesn't mean that we have to buy the equipment, harbor the liability, et cetera, et cetera. Put the money in the community and et cetera, et cetera.
Comments? I guess staff is looking for us, like a recommendation from this committee, if we up to the council for discussion and approval.
We are, whether it be forwarding the full 22 or forwarding a portion to the full governing body for consideration.
Okay, I've got,
Any ideas? Sure.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me go back to, and I'm a little confused on what I'm looking. I think it's number 5, fan coil units. So based on the, what's down below here, it said item 5, which is the lowest priority, correct? Equipment with limited useful life remaining, direct impact on occupants, so on, serving spaces which have limited or occasional occupancy. What does that do to TPAC if we don't do that piece of the
You're talking the green areas, that's right.
Yes, sir.
green area? Yeah.
The green areas are highly utilized. The outside, I don't know if we're looking at the same page or not, but the top of the page, those are meeting rooms that are rented out as well as used by staff for meetings. In the lower right-hand quarter is all our staff. That's occupied daily by 6 individuals, I believe. The area that runs along the bottom side is the concessions, food storage, and another office for that person as well. So they are used on a daily basis. It's not an occasional use. It also entails all the hallways and quarters in that area as well.
So to elaborate a little bit on the priority piece, also Details on that section start on page 9 within the assessment itself. But in looking at how to prioritize and some of the words that were used in ways that it was presumed in terms of use was within all of the space, it is rented out. Some of the conditions can be mitigated by opening windows because many of these do have functioning windows. So that does help with some of the return air challenges that we've had in these spaces. While it is highly utilized on a regular basis from a corridor perspective, the vast majority of the utilization of this building for its intended use is within the auditorium areas. So in trying to prioritize the impact to the public and to the functionality of TPAC, that's why it was prioritized at a level 5, because while there are some staff members that do work there every day, they do have offices that typically are aligned with windows and have radiator units. So still important. It still has very much a large impact on TPAC. But that's some of the logic that went into the prioritization, because we couldn't make everything just a 1.
So which is it? I mean, kind of two different perspectives, I guess.
As to whether it's a 1 or a 5.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you'd ask our staff, it's a 1.
It's also $3 million, so
Yes.
it's not a laughing matter.
I mean, it's part of the, when you look at the corridors, the entry, the vestibule area, that's part of the performance area as well as people come in through the building. Joan just pointed out, we had 85,000 people through that building last year. And that was post-COVID, so it was a slow year. Majority of those people are Topekans. And TPAC is a high priority of local theater, the jazz festival, the symphony. So it's not like it's all for the big shows that come through in the evenings. The majority of our shows are local community events.
I'm a little confused still because when I look at the green here, at the bottom in the middle of this, we have the first floor plan. But on the right-hand side, that's the city hall, right? Portion.
The 3 plans you have in here are only of TPAC.
Only TPAC. Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And it would go to the left side of that if you continued on for the city portion.
Okay, the city's to the left. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's to the
That's, okay.
I've got another
Sure,
thought.
go ahead,
Just a
Councilman.
thought. So skip over TPAC for a second, go to the city hall side. We have another office building. We have a lot of office buildings for the city of Topeka, but specifically where we usually hold these holiday building. Is there any opportunity to consolidate something somewhere? I know that leads to a lot of questions, but what we're talking about is spending a lot of money to continue to condition air in an office building. Do we really need it?
So, Councilman, I would say that those conversations have been had off and on over the last couple of months. There are opportunities for consolidation. I'm hesitant without doing a full look to say how much consolidation. I know that there was a study done back in 2019 that looked at mothballing City Hall, and the recommendation at that point in time was adding floors to Holiday, not making that recommendation. So I think what I would like to have is a little bit of time to have us take a look to see how much consolidation we could do either at Holiday or at other facilities.
I guess, Chair?
Go ahead, sure.
I would make a motion that I mean, obviously, we're going to have to phase this. We can't take this bite of the apple right now, all at once. I would suggest we start at phase one, which, in my understanding, is we have to do number two, which will benefit the entire building. In order for TPAC to continue functioning as an auditorium, we have to do number three. We have to do number four. I'm still not clear about number five. I mean, if there was an option to put TPAC personnel in other space within the city or something like that, but I guess I'd be willing to put number five, depending on the rest of the committee here, number five in as well. I think that would take care of TPAC as well as the conversion from steam to hot water. And then depending on the study, that way the TPAC side wouldn't have to wait till the study of the rest of the facility.
And you're talking probably 18 months to make finalization of any progress anyway.
Right.
You know, depending on what lead time is, I think each one of these items is 12 to 16 months. So I think we can have an assessment done pretty quickly to answer your question on the space situation.
So, Councilman Dilber, so you were saying option two, so it's 3.7, it's 3.8 million really, right?
Right.
Option number three, which is 3,180,000. Yeah. And then number four, was there another one as well?
I think that's it. So that'd be about $10 million. Well, number five, depending on, that gets us to 13 million plus
Yeah.
or minus.
And that takes care of TPAC then, as well as converting, so we're not wasting anything because that would have to be done as part of the city HVAC as well.
Right.
And then the only thing to add on top of that would be this, basically the city and some of the court stuff.
Right.
I
I
would,
mean, one consideration, I guess, would be could you move the court system to Holiday and not have to do that portion of it?
That's one that'll take me a little bit more time to,
I'm going to keep
To
adding
analyze.
time here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can share with you, Chair, that we have $5 million currently in the CIP.
for this project, so what we're doing is looking at adding 8 million to it. If we do
Roughly.
this, okay.
Roughly.
And that would, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, these numbers kind of sicken me just because I think of all our other needs, but at some point, you got to invest in your stuff and you got to take care of your stuff, as much as I hate this much money being spent in one building. But I would second, I guess, that. Any other comments? Go ahead.
No, I mean, not really any parting comments. TPAC is a huge asset.
Yeah.
In regards to the other side, you know, the other city hall, I mean, you know, where I stood on that years ago was, I thought it was time to get to go a different direction, you know, in regards to, instead of continuing to throw money at that thing, you know, but
Here we are.
here we are, continually throwing more money at it. So, like I said, I would just urge the council and city manager to do another deep dive as the future, because it's not going to continue. What's wrong with Terry?
Sorry, your use of the word deep dive.
Deep dive, and just reevaluate that. I mean, it's not going to get any better. It's not, it's,
Right.
So just because it's old doesn't mean it's historic, So anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, we have a motion, a second, to recommend the adoption of options 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the council for consideration. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Okay, none opposed, so that passes. Okay.
Just
Yes.
to make sure I'm clear, that was a recommendation to council, correct?
Correct,
That's
yes.
okay.
Yeah, we don't have any authority to
Just want to make sure.
actually,
They didn't want us to go out and start,
no, no. This has to go, anything we do is just a recommendation to the council. Okay, being cognizant of our time here, as you turn it back into a pumpkin here at noon, I think, today, so. Thank you.
Rod.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate you. Good to see you.
The next item up is Elevation Parkway. City Manager.
Chair, so I think we can actually, if, we can talk about 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
A little bit together, in so much as really all three are economic development opportunities. Elevation Parkway is a plan that's been on the books for about 25, 30 years in the southwest quadrant of Topeka, which basically, in its full envisioning, connects Gage to Wanamaker on the southern end. We've had 3 developers approach us with the assertion that if we were to do Phase 1, which is Gage to Fairlawn, with some extensions of Gage and Fairlawn itself, that would open up that corridor to a significant amount of development, whether it be housing, office parks, light retail, no specific plans. The 24 highway really is a component to Polk Quincy Viaduct. Because of having to reroute traffic, there's some work that needs to be done on 24 highway. That our portion of that is not to exceed $1.7 million. The KTA study is in the southeast part of the community, and that's the conversation about connecting the turnpike basically to the area near 29th and California. The KTA study is one that they would, it's roughly a $20 million project as it exists right now. There's some work that would have to be done to firm that number up and firm up the plans. Basically, what we're being asked to consider, what I'm asking you to consider, is appending the CIP for an amount not to exceed $120,000. And that's so that we can pay for half of a study to firm up those plans to develop that area around 29th and California in regards to a turnpike exit. The Elevation Parkway side is about $21.5 million. That is, again, basically connecting basically 37th and Gage down and around to Fairlawn and extending Fairlawn and Gage to open all that up.
And that even includes, that number even includes going all the way, get Fairlawn all the way to, I think, to 51st Street, 52nd
I
or
believe that's
something,
correct,
doesn't it?
yes, sir.
So,
And that is a 3-lane arterial. So there's conversations about whether or not that would be a parkway with vegetation and whatnot in the center, or it would be a separate turn lane. All that's yet to be fleshed out, obviously.
What you're asking for now is just the money simply to actually update and do plans for that, correct?
Yeah, so what we'd be asking for is the $120,000 for the KTA study, $1.7 million for the US 24 highway frontage road, and then money to proceed with fleshing out Elevation Parkway. Again, the estimated price tag on that one is about $21.5 million. All of those would be amendments to the 2023 CIP.
And on that Elevation Parkway, there also, though, that's the total cost, right? Is that correct?
That is the total cost for Phase 1. That does not include the envisioning of future connections from Fairlawn to Wanamaker. That would be a separate phase. Elevation Parkway, as it was originally envisioned, was connections of Gage to Fairlawn and on over to Wanamaker.
Right.
The Fairlawn to Wanamaker is not part of that 21.5.
Okay, I thought it was, because I thought the other part was like 12 million is what they had, and then,
So the $12 million was the initial number. That estimate was prepared several years ago.
okay,
It's now much higher. The 21.5 includes not only concrete for the road, but also involves moving some utilities to activate that entire area.
okay. But they're also, that's the total cost though, and we would expect, like now, a developer goes in and develop anything. They pay for a certain thing, right? When a housing developer goes to build a housing subdivision, they put in a 2-lane road with concrete curb and gutter, storm sewer, and a sidewalk. And so, in my opinion, the city should only be looking at the delta between what a developer would have to do already and what the city wants to make it an arterial, in my opinion. And I guess it's important to note then, the number you're talking about is the city paying for everything, correct?
If the city were to pay for everything,
Okay,
that's correct.
okay.
So any offset expense to developers would be a reduction of that fee.
Okay, okay. That would be my recommendation, or what I think is fair, because to the extent the city's getting something that functions as an arterial, that benefits the city and but the initial access really helps, it's on the developer, or I believe it should be, because that's the way other things are done, other projects. Although it's been a long time since we've done an arterial, so,
Yeah, through an undeveloped area like
yeah,
this.
yeah. Go ahead.
Just to add on to that piece could actually be a benefit district that covers the development area as well. So
There has been that conversation.
in essence, we'd be financing, but would not be paying for that.
Right. The other piece that, this is not just economic development, although that's obviously the driving factor for this one. It also takes pressure off the 29th and Fairlawn.
Absolutely.
Cadbury,
yeah.
and we're seeing, obviously, traffic issues there. We're also seeing some challenges on response times, just because of how that area is laid out. It's hard to go from Gage to Fairlawn unless you're coming down basically 29th. So there's some emergency response times tied into that also.
Yes, it
has
is,
a
yeah.
side benefit.
Yeah. Are you wanting to consider all these at once? Again, all we are is recommending anyway, so it's not like this is a real official, like, we're passing a resolution, I don't think.
Just a question.
Sure,
Chair.
sure.
So what's the number for, I know it's 21 million or whatever for the total project, but what are you asking for right now?
I think if we were to basically ask for $3 million as part of the 2023 CIP, that would allow us to make some progress, firm some plans up, and
Okay.
show intentions and initiative on behalf of the city towards developers that we're looking to move forward. You disagree?
I do not.
Sure, Mr. Finder, you want to add something?
I'm just here to help make sure we're on the same page, what we're thinking. No, I don't have anything else to add
Oh,
at
okay,
this point. Yeah.
okay. Councilman?
No, sir.
Well, do you want to do them, I guess it'd be quick enough to just vote on each individually, that, I guess, just to keep things a little straighter. So we're looking at up to 3 million for plans and work for Elevation Parkway.
So move.
So moved, okay. You have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes 3-0. The US 24 high, which again is money, that's a partnership with KDOT, I
It is a
believe,
partnership
isn't it?
with
So-
KDOT. Our portion would not to exceed $1.7 million.
A question, does that go towards the 20 million that we have to give them for Polk Quincy
I
then?
don't believe so.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, I then will move that for approval. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. That passes. And lastly, we have 120,000 for the city's portion of the KTA study to firm up the plans there for the exit on 29th. in California. I will move approval on that. Have a
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Lesser, did you say aye on
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 3-0 on that. And now we have a firm repair update memo.
So really, Chair, this is, the memo is attached. Really, the bigger question is a question on how much oversight this committee wants to have on some of these expenditures. So for example, in the memo is a $5,000 ask for repair. We've had a situation in City Hall to where we've had a power panel that is failing and is causing some issues with City 4. It's been, I think, our interpretation from previous conversations that this committee truly wants full oversight of any expenditures when it comes to city buildings and infrastructure. And so really, I'm just asking for a clarification as to the level of oversight.
I guess just speaking for myself, I mean, you know, we hired you, Mr. Wade, as city manager, and you have a lot of authority. I mean, millions of dollars worth of authority. I don't think or necessarily want you to come asking us for every $5,000 that needs to be spent. I think there's just, and maybe if you guys need general parameters, great. I think it's okay if, again, this is just my own opinion here. I think if there's something that needs done, within certain parameters, I think like what the county does, they just bring it to the next meeting if there's something that had to be done on an emergency basis, and they want to tell us about it, but it's, I guess I trust your judgment that's.
Yeah, I think from a legal aspect and from a finance aspect, both would be more comfortable if those parameters were at least loosely defined so that we understand scope of authority. Finance gets a little squishy when I start trying to spend money that we may not have authority to spend.
Any thoughts from my colleagues on that? I mean, what's the recommendation from staff? What would give them enough operational flexibility to do their jobs and also satisfy finance and without just totally saying,
Give me a quick
Sure,
second.
Sure. Sure, sure. You know,
15 minutes, man.
Yes. For the millions of you watching at home, city manager is having a quick conference here with the staff.
So speaking to the folks that actually know better, really, if we could have authorization, Chair, of up to $25,000 on an incident basis, that would probably allow us to proceed efficiently without bogging down the committee.
And would you still come and I guess after
We
the
would
fact
we would
report
report
what the?
back out.
I do not have any issue with that. Do you need some formal,
I think finance and legal would appreciate having that.
so I would move that to allow staff up to $25,000 in spending authority without our prior authorization, with the caveat that they just inform us afterwards what was done. So that'd be
And
my motion.
obviously, we'll do that with discretion.
That'd be my motion.
Of course.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes 3-0. Okay.
If I can do it.
Okay. And, okay, we moved that up. We already talked about 7. Any other items that we need to talk about this time?
Not from staff.
Okay, council members?
I've got one item I wanted
All right.
to add to the agenda.
Councilman Lesser, go
I
ahead.
guess we can call it item 8.
Okay.
Or, yeah, item 8. I'd like to add to the agenda I think that the amount of projects that we have moving forward, I think that the Public Infrastructure Committee, I think it would be most appropriate that they met on a weekly basis 4:30 on Fridays moving forward. To make sure that all proper attention is given to each and every topic moving forward. That'd be my motion.
Just adjourn the meeting.
Okay, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
You got to at least second it so you can vote me down.
That motion is going to die for a lack of a second.
All right, I tried.
So, no, this is,
Citizens and constituents, I tried.
This is the last 15 minutes we have as Councilman Lesser, and it's going to suck here without you. So I don't think your constituents nor the citizens of Topeka realize how much you've done for them over the last four, almost 5 years. So you're really going to be missed, and thanks for everything you did, man.
I'm gonna miss you, man. I mean, miss you. I'm gonna miss parts of it, and but no. Two of the absolute best reasons, or three of the absolute best reasons, are sitting right here of that don't go away. That I gain from doing this is, I made. 3 friends right here that are in my circle and always had my back, and I hope know that I always had yours, and this is just this one aspect of our relationship. So I fully intend to give both of you shit continually. So
Well, there goes.
so thanks for saying this. So.
Sure.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, thanks for your service. I might add that you started with this infrastructure committee, and I think it's been a success, and you've been a big part of it. Been a big part of a lot of things. So, yeah, we're definitely gonna miss you, Councilman.
Thanks.
All right. Well, seeing nothing further in front of us, we are adjourned.
10-4.